hour that I'm living. Keep my enemies at bay and never leave without my fringes. 1611 with me cause I'm on a mission. Talk is cheap, I pay the cost, me and my lines really live it. I don't need no glory, you don't have to know my story. Glad I made it out this world cause this world was never for me. I thought that I was. If it wasn't for the Most High who was on my side, man, ain't no telling where I'd be. Mr. Wilson would've known. Can't nobody tell me nothing different. The Father's been good to me. So good to me. Yeah. Wave your hands if you feel me. I'm a witness. Yahweh's been good to me. So good to me. Every morning that I rise, I thank Yahweh that I'm living. Keep my enemies at bay and never leave without my fringes. 1611 with me cause I'm on a mission. Talk is cheap, I pay the cost, me and my lines really live it. I don't need no glory, you don't have to know my story. Glad I made it out this world cause this world was never for me. I thought that I was. If it wasn't for the Most High who was on my side, man, ain't no telling where I'd be. Mr. Wilson would've known. Can't nobody tell me nothing different. The Father's been good to me. So good to me. Yeah. Wave your hands if you feel me. I'm a witness. Yahweh's been good to me. So good to me. Every morning that I rise, I thank Yahweh that I'm living. Keep my enemies at bay and never leave without my fringes. 1611 with me cause I'm on a mission. Talk is cheap, I pay the cost, me and my lines really live it. I don't need no glory, you don't have to know my story. Glad I made it out this world cause this world was never for me. I thought that I was. If it wasn't for the Most High who was on my side, man, ain't no telling where I'd be. Mr. Wilson would've known. Can't nobody tell me nothing different. The Father's been good to me. So good to me. Yeah. Wave your hands if you feel me. I'm a witness. Yahweh's been good to me. So good to me. Every morning that I rise, I thank Yahweh that I'm living. Keep my enemies at bay and never leave without my fringes. 1611 with me cause I'm on a mission. Talk is cheap, I pay the cost, me and my lines.
Check. What's going on? We get into this history lesson tonight, today, whatever time it may be. History of the Passover, True Nation World History, streaming on Wednesdays. So we're going to get right into it. We're going to go to the book of Exodus, chapter 6, kind of just as a precursor to understand the point of it all, you know, where we were at, what was going on at that time. So we go to Exodus chapter 6. We can start from verse 1.
This is the book of Exodus chapter 6 and verse 1. Then the Lord said unto Moses, Now shalt thou see what I will do to Pharaoh, for with a strong hand shall he let them go, and with a strong hand shall he drive them out of his land.
So at this point in time, though not exactly at the moment of Passover, Moses had already been conditioned and trained and weaned from the culture of Egypt. And this is when he's at the burning bush talking with the Most High. And the Most High is basically explaining to him, look, I'm about to free you and your people from the Egyptians because y'all been there for a real long time. They're not serving me. They're not remembering me correctly. So I got to do some things that's going to make sure that your people, our people, are going to be free. Because right now, they're not free because they're not under me. If they're not under me, speaking as the Most High, they're not free. Jump to verse 4.
Verse 4. And I have also established my covenant with them to give them the land of Canaan, the land of their pilgrimage, wherein they were strangers. And I have also heard the groaning of the children of Israel, whom the Egyptians keep in bondage, and I have remembered my covenant.
So the Most High is, he's recognizing and realizing things from the past and the present. The children of Israel are currently in bondage. They're mourning. It's not a good time for them. So the Most High is going to answer their prayers right now. Plus, he has an obligation to fulfill from Abraham, the covenant that was made with him some way generations back to bring Israel back into the actual promised land. Because again, Egypt was not the promised land. The land of Goshen was not the promised land. It was just a good piece of land, but not the allotment and the division that the Most High was going to give all Israel. So yeah, let's jump a little forward and get straight to the point, We're going to Exodus chapter 11. In verse 1, you can read from right there.
Exodus chapter 11 and verse 1. And the Lord said unto Moses, Yet will I bring one plague more upon Pharaoh and upon Egypt. Afterwards he will let you go hence. When he shall let you go, he shall surely thrust you out hence altogether.
So at this point in time, moving chapters, moving in history, in the future rather, forward, this is about to be the final plague. Everything before that was about 9 more plagues upon the whole nation of Egypt, so that the Most High's authority and his power will be known to Israel and as well as to the Egyptians. So the Most High could get all the glory, because that's what it's all about. When you're living in Egypt, you might know about the Most High, especially your Israel, but it's too much competition and too much distraction going on to where the Most High is no longer recognized by people as the Most High. He's just another thing that exists, but I'm giving my time to this. So now the Most High is like, now I got to do all these things so that the whole world knows what I'm about. And so that's where we're at this point in time with the final plague that's about to fall upon Egypt. You can read on.
Verse 2. Speak now in the ears. Mic check. Verse 2. Speak now in the ears of the people, and let every man borrow of his neighbor, and every woman of her neighbor, jewels of silver and jewels of gold. And the Lord gave the people favor in the sight of the Egyptians. Moreover, the man Moses was very great in the land of Egypt, in the sight of Pharaoh's servants, and in the sight of the people.
And it makes sense because 9 plagues in, this same guy, this Moses, who preached to the children of Israel, who weren't even really trying to listen because they were too caught up in their own anguish and depression and bondage and stuff like that. But as well as to Pharaoh and the Egyptians, Moses had a certain level of the favor of the Most High and authority within the Egyptian country, pretty much. So people knew that this man was the reason why all these plagues was happening to them in their lives and all that. So when the Most High allowed favor for Israel, because again, Moses was representing Israel, all the people gave all their riches to them. So essentially, no work. It was basically all free. No guile had to happen. No BS. It's just the Most High allowed it to be like, these are the riches that you're gonna get right before the actual Passover event is gonna happen. So that was the favor that the Most High put upon the nation with this other nation as far as jewels and gold. And as you're gonna come to find out later too, some of them were just like, more than keep my jewels and gold, keep us too. We recognize your power. We recognize your God. The other gods that we've been dibbling and dabbling with. But read on.
Verse 4. And Moses said, Thus saith the Lord, About midnight will I go out into the midst of Egypt, and all the firstborn in the land of Egypt shall die, from the firstborn of Pharaoh that sitteth upon his throne, even unto the firstborn of the maidservant that is behind the mill, and all the firstborn of beasts. Verse 6. And there shall be a great cry throughout all the land of Egypt, such as there was none like it, nor shall be like it any more.
So this final plague was actually an immediate touch upon the lives of all the people, and it makes sense because this is the firstborns of every family that was going to get taken away and put to death. I'm not sure how many of y'all have lost, loved ones in general, but even if it wasn't your firstborn, it could be anybody. It could be a parent. It could be a different kid. It could be your best friend. It could be a husband or a wife, anything. When you have that type of pain, it's heartbreak and it's heartache, and a lot of times it's not always easy to deal with. So that's a plague. That's still a plague the Most High is putting upon the people at this point in time. So that's why he said there's going to be a whole bunch of crying anguish, and that's going to be the straw, essentially, that's going to break the camel's back to where they're thrusting out the children of Israel. Like, these people aren't worth keeping in bondage. We've had too much hardship. We just lost our firstborns, pretty much. So that was the straw that broke the camel's back with that one. It's going to be, actually. Read on.
Verse 7. But against any of the children of Israel shall not a dog move his tongue, against man or beast, that ye may know how that the Lord do put a difference between the Egyptians and Israel. Verse 8. And all these thy servants shall come down, saying, Get thee out, and all the people that follow from Pharaoh, in a great anger. And the Lord said unto Moses, Pharaoh shall not hearken unto you, that my wonders may be multiplied in the land of Egypt.
And that's the thing about the 10 plagues in. It would have been easy if immediately when Moses went to Pharaoh and he said, hey, let my people go, and Pharaoh was just like, all right. That would have been easy. But again, the Most High wouldn't get the glory that he wants and that he deserves, because he's the Most High. He's the self-existent that created everything. So instead, what he does is he hardens Pharaoh's heart. He basically makes Pharaoh double-minded, essentially being like, okay, I'll let you go, and then, no, I'm not going to let you go. And this is all in the will of the Most High, because, again, he needs to be known amongst the people, the Egyptians, and more importantly, Israel, so that their minds are now purified from what they've been learning in Egypt, and recognizing, the Most High is the Most High power, not, these other gods, the Egyptians. No, it's the Most High. So he did that on purpose so that he would be glorified. So it's a crazy thing when the Most High can take your mind like that and make you even double-minded like that, to where let you go, don't let you go, let you go, don't let you go. And even you see after this, Pharaoh still chased after Israel, at least on a revenge tip, to bring them back. But that's what he did. The Most High was the one that hardened his heart, not his own self. Read on.
Verse 10. And Moses and Aaron did all these wonders before Pharaoh, and the Lord hardened Pharaoh's heart, so that he would not let the children of Israel go out of his hand, of his land.
For the plague specifically. You can read 12 and 1.
And the Lord spake unto Moses and Aaron in the land of Egypt, saying, This month shall be unto you the beginning of months. It shall be the first month of the year to you.
So in this particular month, whatever day it had been at that point in time, it was recognized that this is the beginning of the cycle. No different than you have a cycle of Sabbaths and weeks. You have a cycle in months that's going to make a year. Every time it's going to return back to this point, and this is going to be the beginning. And I need you guys to recognize that. So that's a whole nother lesson in itself, but it's just how we divide time, using the scriptures. Read on.
Verse 3. Speak ye unto all the congregation of Israel, saying, In the 10th day of this month they shall take to them every man a lamb, according to the house of their fathers, a lamb for an house.
So every family, every household needed to get their own lamb in order to keep this particular ordinance, which is going to be for the Passover. So that's a lot of lambs, and it's a lot of Israelites actually at this point in time too. I believe more than 20,000, and that's on the lower scale. But imagine that many lambs and that many families, to feed with it. But our people were blessed in the land of Goshen, so they were definitely able to do it. Read on.
Verse 4. And if the household be too little for the lamb, let him and his neighbor next unto his house take it according to the number of the souls. Every man according to his eating shall make your count for the lamb. Your lamb shall be without blemish, a male of the first year. Ye shall take it out from the sheep or from the goats.
So the lamb in particular, as far as the deacon aspects of these ordinances, It says that the lamb needs to be without blemish. It needs to be, a young lamb within the first year and blemishless. Basically a beautiful lamb. No hang-ups, no hiccups. It's just got to be like a perfected lamb, pretty much. In the flesh. So that's the ordinance with that. Read on.
Verse 6, and ye shall keep it up until the 14th day of the same month, and the whole assembly of the congregation of Israel shall kill it in the evening.
So you got basically 5 days. You got 5 days to basically, hold this lamb, take care of it and everything. But then on that fourth day, or really that fifth day, which is at the even, that's when the Passover is actually kept as far as killing the lamb. And then the following 7 days after that, that's the time frame to actually make the sacrifice for the lamb, is that 14th day at even, aka the 15th day, which starts at night, in case y'all didn't know. Read on.
Verse 7, and they shall take of the blood and strike it on the 2 side posts and on the upper doorposts of the houses, wherein they shall eat it. And they shall eat the flesh in that night, roast with fire and unleavened bread, and with bitter herbs they shall eat it.
So in a minute, I'm gonna just go through the history, but I want to talk about what these things spiritually represent. Yeah, what these represent. But I want to get to the history first, and then we're gonna get back to it.
Just jump to 1 Corinthians 5 real quick.
Well, I mean, I want to.
All right.
Yeah, I want to just. Yeah. I'm gonna get into it. We're gonna revisit this right now, but I just want you guys just the ordinance history, and then we're gonna get into some of the deeper aspects of why these things were done like this and why they were actually, as the book of Hebrews says, shadows of good things to come. But let's just roll through the history real quick.
Verse 9, eat not of it raw, nor sodden at all with water, but roast with fire, his head with his legs, and with the pertinence thereof.
All right, so far 3 ordinances. Blood on the doorposts. You got to eat it with bitter herbs, unleavened bread, and then the lamb itself. And then as well as it has to be cooked a certain way. It says don't eat it raw. We don't even normally do that, period, unless it's fruits and vegetables. And don't boil it. That's what sodden water is. Don't boil it. Roast it. Barbecue it on a pit. Put it in fire. It has to be underneath or above or contained in fire somehow. Read on.
Verse 10, and ye shall let nothing of it remain until the morning, and that which remaineth of it until the morning ye shall burn with fire.
All the rest of it. So don't let none of it. It's got to be ashes, pretty much. That morning of that second part of the day, the daylight portion, it should be completely like obliterated. Whether it was eaten all the way or only picked apart, it's got to be obliterated by the morning time. So oftentimes you see here in the history of True Nation, and I'm sure other places too, you have like overnight watchmen that are watching that lamb and making sure that it is burned up before the sunlight comes up, if not directly when the sunlight.
I'm pretty sure ain't nobody eating no bones, so
definitely
that's part of what get roasted throughout the night.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Verse 11, and thus shall ye eat it with your loins girded, your shoes on your feet, and your staff in your hand, and ye shall eat it in haste. It is the Lord's Passover.
Mm-hmm.
For I will pass through the land of Egypt this night, and will smite all the firstborn in the land of Egypt, both man and beast, and against all the gods of Egypt I will execute judgment.
So again, final plague. Most High is making this against the peoples, whether it's Israel that took heed or not, but mainly against the Egyptians, and again against all the gods of Egypt, which is mainly like the statues, the idols, and even people, the people that are actually making the judgments in Egypt. The Most High is basically judging them as well too in this final event. Read on.
I am the Lord, and the blood shall be to you for a token upon the houses where ye are. And when I see the blood, I will pass over you, and the plague shall not be upon you to destroy you, when I smite the land of Egypt. And this day shall be unto you for a memorial, And ye shall keep it a feast of the Lord throughout your generations. Ye shall keep it a feast by an ordinance forever.
So that's an important part. That's why we've been talking about this lesson tonight. We're talking about it as this is a feast day. This is the most detailed not necessarily the most detailed memorial, but this is the most detailed passage about this memorial in the Bible. You can go to Leviticus 23 and Deuteronomy 16 about all the other feasts too, but this is where all the details as far as how to keep Passover correctly as a memorial and where it's found is right here. So we follow through with these ordinances right here. In the respect of it being memorial, because obviously when we keep Passover in the next couple of days, such like that, we're not in any particular rush or haste to leave, Los Angeles or Cebu or wherever you may be in the world. You're not in any particular rush at that point in time because we're not actually leaving our captivity by keeping the memorial. But at this particular time, that needed to be kept because we had to dip as soon as this event happened. Read on.
Verse 15. 7 days shall ye eat unleavened bread. Even the first day ye shall put away leaven out of your houses. For whosoever eateth leavened bread from the first day until the 7th day, that soul shall be cut off from Israel. And in the first day there shall be an holy convocation. And in the 7th day there shall be an holy convocation to you. No matter of work shall be done in them, save that which every man must eat, that only may be done of you.
So right before we get into some of the deeper meanings, that's how you keep it. The first and the last day, they are holy gatherings, holy convocations. No working, no buying or selling, almost just like the 7th day Sabbath, with the exception of you can cook. Obviously you can cook your own food. Those two last days, the first and the 7th, are part of that ordinance of keep Passover. So now we're going to rewind a little bit now, like the brother was saying. We're going to actually understand the 4 major components, and what they really mean. And those 4 components are the lamb itself, the bitter herbs, the unleavened bread, and even the blood. So we're going to talk, the blood that you're supposed to put on the doorpost, but the blood just in general. So we're gonna talk about that. Let's talk about what hopefully should be the most obvious, which is the lamb. The lamb aspect. Go back to verse 5. Read that.
Exodus 12 and 5. Your lamb shall be without blemish, a male of the first year. Ye shall take it out from the sheep or from the goats.
So we're dealing with the lamb aspect, not necessarily the goats right now. But go to John 1 and 29. So if you did not know, if you never read the New Testament before or the book of Revelations, most people know that Christ goes by 2 particular animals, the lion of the tribe of Judah and the lamb of God. Those are 2, icons or titles that he holds because of prophecy and tribe and what he's supposed to do as far as 2,000 years ago. You got that, John 1 and 29? Get that.
John chapter 1 and verse 29. The next day John seeth Jesus coming unto him, and saith, Behold, the Lamb of God, which taketh away the sin of the world.
So that's John the Baptist right there, the reincarnation or regeneration of Elijah, one of the greatest prophets ever, acknowledging Christ as being the Lamb of God. So he clearly has a deep understanding of what the Passover meant, 2,000 plus years ago for him as well, too. Go to 1 Peter 1 and 19. Yeah, 1 Peter 1 and 19. So just getting the Christian or us as followers of Christ understanding of what he meant when he considered himself to be that lamb, representing Passover. And eventually I'm going to touch upon that Hebrews 2, the shadow.
This is the book of First Peter, chapter 1 and verse 19. But with the precious blood of Christ, as of a lamb without blemish and without spot, who verily was foreordained before the foundation of the world, but was manifest in these last times for you, who by him do believe in God, that raised him up from the dead and gave him glory, that your faith and hope might be in God.
So as we all know, Christ lived a perfect life. Excuse me. Christ lived a perfect life from sin. That's why the lamb in Exodus had to be blemishless, because it was a physical representation of the spiritual things that Christ would take on, being a man of perfection. He died without sin. He died sinless because, again, he was foreordained, as that scripture said, he was foreordained. Even before the Passover, he was foreordained, and this is a representation of him doing that. I'm going to talk about that in Hebrews once we get through all the components, though. Go to 1 Corinthians 5 and 7, just to drive the point, too. On the not that one. Matthew 26, and read from verse 26.
Matthew chapter 26 and verse 26. And as they were eating, Jesus took bread and blessed it and brake it and gave it to the disciples and said, "Take, eat, this is my body."
So this is the Passover that Christ was celebrating, which again is like Christ celebrating himself or partaking in himself, the shadow aspect of himself. But this is what's going on, and this is what he's basically breaking. And this is what he's basically breaking down. So again, bread in the scriptures, when you look into it in the Hebrew and the Greek, it don't necessarily always mean specifically bread, but the things that they were eating. So they partook in not only unleavened bread, but the actual lamb as well too. So what did he say about that?
Take, eat, this is my body.
So when we eat the lamb, we basically acknowledge symbolically that Christ is now within us. So now we have the knowledge and the faith in Christ, because now he's dwelling with us, and he's now our connection and our link. That's what partaking in that lamb means, and that's what Christ is explaining right there as well too. So and we need him, we need him because he's basically he is the middleman, and that's why we're going to talk about actually even the blood next. That's the next component I want to talk about, since it's a good segue. Go to Exodus 12. Exodus 12 and read verse 7 and then verse 13.
Exodus chapter 12 and verse 7. And they shall take of the blood and strike it on the two side posts and on the upper doorposts of the houses, wherein they shall eat it.
And 13.
Verse 13. And the blood shall be to you for a token upon the houses where ye are. And when I see the blood, I will pass over you, and the plague shall not be upon you to destroy you, when I smite the land of Egypt.
So this is the thing about blood in particular. The thing about blood is blood basically is a covering from death. Why is that? Because not only does it say here that the death angel will pass over you, but blood, as far as the sacrificial law was used back in the day, was also covering from your own death. Anytime that you sin a sin, guess whose blood had to be shed for the Most High? Typically and normally an animal. But if the punishment was so severe to where it would affect the community abroad, the blood of an actual person then needed to be shed. And that understanding first came into play in the book of Genesis. Go to Genesis chapter 9.
Sure, you think about it, what's pumping through your veins?
Exactly. That's what's keeping your body alive.
God.
Genesis chapter 9. And you can read from verse 4.
This is the book of Genesis, chapter 9 and verse 4. But flesh with the life thereof, which is the blood thereof, shall ye not eat.
So the Most High just says off the top, don't eat blood, period, because the life is in there. That's important. And when I'm not even going to bring that up, but you don't eat the blood of the flesh at all. That's specifically for the Most High. But read the next verse. This is what I want to emphasize on.
Verse 5. And surely your blood of your lives will I require. At the hand of every beast will I require it. And at the hand of man. At the hand of every man's brother will I require the life of man.
So the Most High is making an ordinance right here. Look, right after the flood, he had to put basically a stipulation upon man. Like, look, at this point, I'm requiring you guys' blood because I know your nature. When Adam did what he did, you guys basically have sin dwelling within you. So in order for me to stay close to you, because I know sooner than later some type of iniquity or whatever is going to cause you to sin, which is going to cause you to be separate from me, since I don't want that to happen to you, this is what I'm going to do for you in replacement. Anytime that you mess up, you need to have the life removed of something, particularly an animal for what we call lesser sins. And if it's grievous, another man's life has to be taken away. His blood has to be spilt. Whether the blood of an animal or a man, it has to be spilt so that I can reconcile my connection to you. That's just the way that the Most High laid it out. So
a life for a life.
Yeah, life for a life. Even if you didn't necessarily do any type of sin, even when you read in the Levitical laws and stuff like that, you still had to give offerings, blood offerings to the Most High on a daily, just because living in the flesh, period, is just, in this flesh, in this body, is just, it's not perfect. So that's why the Most High made this ordinance at the beginning here. But again, it parallels to why we had to put blood on the doorposts so that death would pass over us, and why Christ gave his blood. Matter of fact, go to Matthew 26 and 26 again. Why Christ had to give his blood? Because guess what? When we partake in his, the Lamb of him and having within us his blood that was killed for us as well, is what protects us from death. And that's what gives us the grace that we have today to perfect ourselves and get things right. Because, 2,000 years after Christ, Israel is not in the right state of mind. Israel has not been keeping laws. Israel have been sinning. But because Christ did what he did, that was a blood sacrifice that spanned generations, that only had to be shed once. And again, because he was blemishless, he was perfect. And for all that partake in him, believe in him, that blood now covers you. No different than the blood on the doorpost. You got that?
That too. From us leaving Egypt. Yeah. And that's why those Egyptians had died.
That we could bring that part out too. But even with this, yeah.
Matthew chapter 26 and verse 26. And as they were eating, Jesus took bread and blessed it and brake it and gave it to the disciples and said, Take, eat, this is my body. And he took the cup and gave thanks and gave it to them, saying, Drink ye all of it, for this is my blood of the New Testament, which is shed for many for the remission of sins.
So that's the other component that's not specifically mentioned in Exodus 12, but wine is a big part of Israelite culture anyway. That wine represents the blood of Christ. When you partake in the wine and Passover this year in the right season and ordinance, that's a representation of you're covered, even though we're still putting blood upon our doorposts, stuff like that, but it's also another representation. That's the blood of that grape, the blood of that wine represents Christ's blood, which is now upon you. And now you have that grace and you have that favor to basically forestall any type of severe condemnation and judgment. Now you have time because that blood is upon you and the Lamb is within you to get it right. That's what that blood represents. You're now able to be passed over from death for the time being, So let's go back to Exodus 12. So the actual lamb, the meat itself, the blood, and now we're going to talk about the Let's talk about the unleavened bread, actually. Let's talk about the unleavened bread. Go to Exodus 12, and you could read from verse 15. Actually, no, read from verse 8 and then 15.
Verse 8. And they shall eat the flesh in that night, roast with fire, and unleavened bread, and with bitter herbs they shall eat it.
Verse 15.
7 days shall ye eat unleavened bread. Even the first day ye shall put away leaven out of your houses. For whosoever eateth leavened bread from the first day until the 7th day, that soul shall be cut off from Israel.
So the Most High said basically with this particular feast, you have to have a particular type of bread. I know y'all used to doing the daily stuff with the regular bread you have, which uses leavening, but this bread in particular cannot have leaven. Read verse 39.
Verse 39. And they baked unleavened bread cakes of the dough which they brought forth out of Egypt, for it was not leavened, because they were thrust out of Egypt, and could not tarry, neither had they prepared for themselves any victual.
So I'm gonna get around back to the understanding of this, but it says they ate unleavened bread because they were thrust out of Egypt and could not tarry. So something about the leavening and bread is basically halting or stopping something. And really, it's stopping purity. And you get an understanding of that when you go to Matthew 16 and 6 first. Matthew 16 and 6.
Matthew chapter 16 and verse 6. Then Jesus said unto them, take heed and beware of the leaven of the Pharisees and of the Sadducees. And they reasoned among themselves, saying, it is because we have taken no bread. Verse 8. Which when Jesus perceived, he said unto them, O ye of little faith, why reason ye among yourselves, because ye have brought no bread? Do ye not yet understand? Neither remember the 5 loaves of the 5,000, and how many baskets ye took up? Neither the 7 loaves of the 4,000, and how many baskets ye took up? How is it that ye do not understand that I spake it not to you concerning bread, that ye should beware of the leaven of the Pharisees and of the Sadducees?
Around verse 12. That's where the hit is.
Then understood they how that he bade them not beware of the leaven of bread, but the doctrine of the Pharisees and of the Sadducees.
So that was what Christ was talking about and alluding to what leaven is. The leaven is the understanding of this isn't pure, unleavened bread is basically pure bread. When you have that leaven to it, you're adding extra additives. And when he talks about the doctrine of the Pharisees and the Sadducees, he's letting them know, look, these guys are not keeping the pure doctrine. They are they're adding to it. They're basically breaking the law, and this is not. And this is not something that I want you to partake in, because it's basically gonna destroy you. So that's what, in this instance, he's saying, beware of this type of leaven. Now, you had mentioned 5 and what? Yeah, 1 Corinthians 5. Yeah, start at 7.
This is the book of 1 Corinthians, chapter 5, verse 7. Purge out, therefore, the old leaven, that ye may be a new lump, as ye are unleavened. For even be a new lump. Salakia. For even Christ, our Passover, is sacrificed for us. Therefore, let us keep the feast, not with old leaven, neither with the leaven of malice or wickedness, but with unleavened bread of sincerity and truth.
So he's letting you know in this instance, look, you got to get rid of, and it's crazy because it doesn't say like new leaven, but it says get rid of the old leaven and even the unleavened bread of malice and wickedness. So again, that's something that the Pharisees and the Sadducees had at the time, but it all boils back down to the laws are not the laws, statutes, commandments, and the judgments. They're not being kept the way that the Most High spelled out. So now, as the scriptures say, you are, or as Paul says, you are leaven, you're puffed up. You're doing extra. You're doing more than what is required, or even sometimes less, and you're not pure. Unleavened bread is the purest form of bread because you're not adding anything to it. Again, when you understand what leaven actually is, yeast or fungus, whatever, that's something that is, prepared beforehand and then added to it. But bread in itself is not always, that puffy, crispy, not necessarily crispy, but not that puffy, bread bolillo roll that you see like Superior. It's unleavened bread purely is just flat bread. And that's what we're supposed to eat this Passover with. Everything else throughout the year, the Most High is understanding, like, look, these 7 days keep pure and holy for me. Everywhere else during the month of the year, I know, the same reason why I have the sacrificial ordinances for you. I know some type of iniquity and God forbid some type of sin might come upon you. And then that's when, essentially that's the year for you to have regular, leavened bread. But for this particular moment, remember to be unleavened in both physically and spiritually. Be pure, essentially. Be pure in your righteousness and your doctrine and everything for this particular feast days. Everything else outside of that, I'll work with you with basically, the blood aspect of things, Yeah, so that's what the unleavened bread means. And then even too, what we read in verse 39, and I'm going to read it. For it was not leavened because they were thrust out of Egypt and could not tarry. The thing is about what leavening does, and why it says they could not tarry and they're thrust out, it holds you back, that leavening, it holds you back from being pure and purified and righteous. It keeps, it's essentially like a stumbling block. So if they were to make the leaven in Egypt at that time, they would have spent more time in Egypt and tarried there longer than they would have, and that would have been detrimental. That would have been disconnect from the Most High, which would have been basically death. Separation from the Most High is death, shorter or longer to get to it. So that's a component with the unleavened bread, and that's what that means. And then lastly, we have the bitter herbs. The bitter herbs is pretty easy to find. Now go to Exodus 1 and 14. Exodus 1 and 14.
This is the book of Exodus, chapter 1 and verse 14. And they made their lives bitter with hard bondage, in mortar and in brick, and in all manner of and in all manner of service in the field. All their service wherein they made them serve was with rigor.
So those bitter herbs represent bondage. That's a part. That's just a piece and a part of the Passover meal, because again, it's a memorial. It's a memorial of where we were placed and put in. Eventually, Israel, fell into bondage, and they even have forgot about the Most High, and that goes back to remembering the curses in Deuteronomy chapter 28. That's bitterness and bondage as well too. So when you are leavened, for basically forever, for a long time more than you need, that's when that bitterness starts to set in. That's when those curses start to set in. So that bitter herbs is supposed to remind you of, yeah, we're in captivity right now. We're in a cursed state. But as we participate in these other components, those supersede the bitterness that we're going through. But we still have to acknowledge that right now we're in bitterness and in bondage, and that we're hoping through the partaking in the lamb and the blood and the unleavened righteousness that we do, that we'll eventually be free from all that. We'll be free from all that, but we got to remember it. So again, that's what the bitter herbs and that component represents. Go to the book of Hebrews. So this is what I wanted to mention about, symbolism and all this stuff, and what the scriptures call shadows. Hebrews chapter 8. And is that the one I went? Hebrews chapter 8 and verse 5.
This is the book of Hebrews, chapter 8 and verse 5. Who serve unto the example and shadow of heavenly things, as Moses was admonished of God when he was about to make the tabernacle. For when he was about to make the tabernacle, foresee, saith he, that thou make all things according to the pattern showed to thee in the mount. But now hath he obtained a more excellent ministry, by how much also he is the mediator of a better covenant, which was established upon better promises. For if that first covenant had been faultless, then should no place have been sought for the second.
You could stop right there. I'm gonna find that was one of the verses in Hebrews. Yeah, that's the one I want to get. But we can parallel those two. Good things to come. Okay, Hebrews 10. That's where I'm tripping. Hebrews 10 and 1.
For the law, having a shadow of good things to come, and not the very image of the things, can never with those sacrifices which they offered year by year continually make the comers thereunto perfect.
All right, so this is talking about a particular shadow in particular, which is the sacrificial law, like the daily ordinances and everything, but it still applies to when we look into the components of the Passover. Again, the four that we just spoke about, the unleavened bread, the bitter herbs, the lamb itself, and then the blood. Those, again, were shadows, which are, again, physical representations of bigger things that I just explained, grace, repentance, Christ being with us, our bondage and our slavery, the curses that we live through, as well as our protection, which again is that grace, and our ability to be righteous, to be unleavened. That's what they represent. So when you read this in Hebrews, the shadow of good things to come, and the one in chapter 8, just know that it's basically saying these are similitudes, these are parables, or these are similes, and these are metaphors. So that's what it's saying when it uses that word shadow of good things to come. And again, that's what all those components were for. Continuing on the historical aspect, because we got a little bit more, we can jump down to Exodus 12. Exodus 12 and 24. Read from right there, please.
And ye shall observe this thing for an ordinance to thee and to thy sons forever. And it shall come to pass, when ye be come to the land which the Lord will give you, according as he hath promised, that ye shall keep this service. And it shall come to pass, when your children shall say unto you, what mean ye by this service? That ye shall say, it is the sacrifice of the Lord's Passover, who passed over the houses of the children of Israel in Egypt, when he smote the Egyptians and delivered our houses. And the people bowed the head and worshipped. And the children of Israel went away and did as the Lord had commanded Moses and Aaron, so did they.
And verse 29.
And it came to pass that at midnight the Lord smote all the firstborn in the land of Egypt, from the firstborn of Pharaoh that sat on his throne unto the firstborn of the captive that was in the dungeon, and all the firstborn of cattle. And Pharaoh rose up in the night, he and all his servants, and all the Egyptians, and there was a great cry in Egypt, for there was not a house where there was not one dead. And he called for Moses and Aaron by night, and said, rise up, and get you forth from among my people, both ye and the children of Israel, and go, serve the Lord as ye have said. Also take your flocks and your herds, as ye have said, and be gone, and bless me also.
Jump down to verse 36. I don't want to get too much into the details, but this is pretty much, what happened. Most High gave favor to all the children of Israel, and said, y'all just go now. We're grieved, and y'all causing that grief to us, so we don't want y'all here no more. Verse 36.
And the Lord gave the people favor in the sight of the Egyptians, so that they lent unto them such things as they required. and they spoiled the Egyptians.
And it's crazy because this is actual Egyptian artifact or papyrus or paper, basically called the Ipawar papyrus, literally recounts this specifically, that they gave the Egyptian people themselves were giving riches away to a servant people, not to mention also some of the other plagues in this same Ipawar papyrus. So again, this is a historical document that you guys can look up yourself, that just confirms and proves that the Bible is not some fantasy MMO RPG game. It's a real deal, real spiritual stuff. Some people may call it magic, but it's real higher power things that happen in this book that are still going to happen and happen to this day. So Israel leaves. Israel gets out of Egypt. We get a bunch of riches. We get servants and everything. And the Most High starts to begin to share his covenant with us, and how he wants us to keep his covenant, as well as the heathen that are, tagging along with us too, and what they're supposed to do along with that as second-class citizens. So that's pretty much, if you read 2 more chapters in, 13, 14, that basically explains what the Passover is pretty much all about. Now, funny enough, let's go with this today. We have a prophecy of not necessarily Passover, but something similar that's going to happen for basically a shadow, another Exodus, basically an Exodus of all Israelites from across the whole world. That's going to be greater and more different, and it's going to supersede this as a memorial greater than this. That's going to happen. Yes, sir. Go to Jeremiah. Go to Jeremiah 16 and read verse 14 through 16. Yeah, so I'm not saying we're not going to be keeping Jeremiah 16, 14 through 16. This is going to explain what, as far as what's going to be
better than Passover.
Man, there's going to be so much things that are going to be better in the world and the kingdom to come.
16 and 16, right?
16, 14 through 16.
This is the book of Jeremiah, chapter 16 and verse 14. Therefore, behold, the days come, saith the Lord, that it shall no more be said, the Lord liveth, that brought up the children of Israel out of the land of Egypt.
So that's talking about the Passover event. There's going to come a time when, it's still going to be remembered, but what's going to happen right now, or in this particular time, in the future to come, because this is the present moment. The future is literally 5 minutes from now, an hour from now, 2 weeks from now. All praises. Something else is going to happen to where, we're going to remember this far more greater. Read on.
Verse 15. But the Lord liveth, that brought up the children of Israel from the land of the north.
The hidden country, mainly North America, North and South America, and as well as.
And from all the lands whither he had driven them. And I will bring them again into their land that I gave unto their fathers.
So that's basically, we're going to remember that memorial, no different than we remember Passover today, which we still need to practice, keep doing. But eventually, we're going to remember Passover and this memorial when it happens too, which is going to be the complete entrance into the kingdom. We're going to remember all the things that the Most High is going to do in retrospect and similitude, just like Egypt, but it's going to be from the entire world. Because guess what? America has a whole empire capitalized over the entire earth right now. Esau in particular, that's claiming America, but and everywhere you go, Israelites are there. So in the same way, Israelites have to get out of bondage, that bitterness, those curses, just like they got out of Egypt. And that's going to be a memorial that the Most High is going to instate, that we're going to keep and remember, no different than the Passover memorial that we're going to be keeping in a few days from now. So it's going to be. I hope a lot of y'all make it. I hope everyone's seeing this makes it. I hope the ones that are not supposed to see it essentially are not even going to see this. But I hope everybody can see that day. I hope I see that day, because it's going to be, and it's going to be wild. It's going to be just as wild as it is reading the things that happen in our history right here that I haven't particularly seen in my own eyes. I can only imagine how wild it's going to be. Seeing this firsthand. The whole children of Israel from all across the 4 corners of the globe, essentially what the Christians call the rapture, getting taken into chariots, whatever type of chariots, to go back home. You want me to read 16? Yeah.
Verse 16. Behold, I will send for many fishers, saith the Lord, and they shall fish them. And after will I send for many hunters, and they shall hunt them from every mountain and from every hill and out of the holes of the rocks.
Khan, which is, again, teaching our people, bringing them in, and then the judgment for those that don't care to do so, fishing and hunting. So that's how the world ends with a bang, or with fire, actually, as the Most High promised and said in his prophecy. So that's the history of the Passover, y'all. Hopefully it was decent and edifying for y'all to get and understand. Catch us on the next history lesson, and of course, too, catch us on every other lesson that we try to do for y'all here at True Nation during the weeks that come. Good night. Shalom.
Yes, sir. Y'all tune in, man. We're going to have some recaps on Passover, man. It's finna be big. We got all congregants from all states coming in. So, man, y'all make sure y'all tune in.